Watt asserts that meaningful and difficult dialogues are often blocked by resistant behaviors. The PI model articulates 8 defense mechanisms. Example: denial, deflection, rationalization, intellectualization, principium, false envy, minimalization, and benevolence. Let me read that again. The PI model articulates 8 defense mechanisms. Example: denial, deflection, rationalization, intellectualization, principium, false envy, minimalization, and benevolence. That people often engage during difficult dialogues. The PI model provided a lens to examine student reflections and responses as they began to interrogate how whiteness functions in their own lives and experiences. This article will focus on the reflections of 4 doctoral students from the Whiteness course, the tensions they faced as they moved through various defense modes, and how they began to confront whiteness in their own lives and collective experiences. The following section will focus on students' reflections. As an introduction to the section, I will briefly outline various defense modes that students exhibited. And she breaks down the students. She gives the name, she gives what race they are, classification or the role, student, and she gives their reaction, the first reaction, and then she gives another example using another student, and so forth and so on. And it continues on and on, and she breaks down the different students' reactions. So if you want to go read that in your own time, I encourage you to do that. I'm going to read it in my own leisure and take notes from it, because I think that was pretty good, and I'm really impressed that intellectuals, doctors, people from different walks of life and races came together to create and collaborate, give a collaborative response on what whiteness is, and go through the frustration and the stress of all of that and what that means. And that's dope. It is. It really gives awareness to that people are quote unquote woke, because that's what the term, how it's used today. That's not the original term of what woke is. How it's used today, it's used to talk about everything else but what the intended use of it was initially. Woke is a term that is associated with describing or elaborating or articulating the experiences of Black people have had in a white supremacist, white narcissist, white controlled world or society. That's what that's what I get from that, you know? That's what I get. All right, so let's continue on with my different perspectives here. Okay, so whiteness in film. I want to look up something else. So I addressed that. Now let me address another perspective here. So for me, this is something that I kind of gathered. I like to see things from different perspectives and different lenses, at different vantage points, different points of view. And a great example of this is looking at a cube. A cube has multiple faces. A cube typically has 4 faces. And each face is a part of the whole. But each side has its own, I'm going to say viewpoint. I'm going to say vantage point. I'm going to say perspective. I'm going to say it has its own reality. So that's looking at what or how different people see things. And the example is intellectuals coming together, doctors, or students in their doctorate coming together to examine, going through the frustration to examine what whiteness is. So we covered the definition of what whiteness is according to the reading that we went through. And if you want to check that out, you can go to U.S. Department of Education. The title for .gov. The title for this document, this passage from, I believe, probably most likely a book. The title is, "What Do You Mean by Whiteness?" A professor, 4 doctoral students, and a student affairs administrator explore whiteness. And once again, I like this definition. This working definition is good. So I think I want to give credit where credit's due, and I also want to use this as Cafe Wish podcast definition of what whiteness is. I think that's really great. Let me make sure I document that. Okay. So now, I want to look at what whiteness is in film is from different perspectives. All right, so I'm going to read from a passage, or I'm going to read from actually, I'm not going to take that one. Okay, so I'm going to read from this article. It's called the artifice.com. And let's see, let's load up this right here. Okay, so I got an article. I found an article from the artifice.com. This article is entitled "The Perpetuating Whiteness in Today's Films." Category is film and race. This article was published 10 years ago, so 2016. And it's a very, very small snippet. So it's not a full, I wouldn't call it a full article. It may be just be a blog, but nonetheless, I think it's worth looking at. So, the perpetuating whiteness in today's films. I'm looking for the author here. Okay, I'm not seeing an author, but it's coming from the artifice.com website. So, the perpetuating whiteness in today's films. I am constantly baffled at the still perpetuating amount of Caucasian actors and the lack of diversity in today's film industry. This can range anywhere from the newest comedies like The Intern to action movies like Jurassic World to superhero movies like The Avengers. There may be one or two characters of another ethnicity, such as one African American or one Indian, but the majority of characters, especially the main characters, remain to be white. Why do you think that is? That's the question that the author is asking. They continue on to say, in the 21st century world that we are supposed to be living in, where racism and discrimination are frowned upon, why is there still a prominence, a continuity, and a focus on almost all Caucasian casts in the film industry? That's the question. They continue on to ask another question. What is it about Hollywood that still lacks diversity? What is it about Hollywood that still lacks diversity? That's a question. They ask another question. Is it the still perpetuating white privilege of society that elevates Caucasian opportunities but diminishes that of other ethnicities? These are really great questions, okay? I'm not gonna lie and say these are not great questions. The author of this article is asking some really